I feel like coming soon, when it comes to Toshi, there could very well be something that could change the dynamic of it. Now, what do I mean by this, even though nothing I say is financial advice? If I take a look at the base, profile on X, right? As part of their description, they do talk about how Base is beginning to explore a network token. However, this right here is very interesting to me because it could be viewed as in two ways. If let's say they launch a token and let's say the Base network even has more attention, there's more, popularity when it comes to it, could that be a good thing when it comes to Toshi? In the grand scheme of things, I think probably yes, because more attention when it comes to Base, I think could hypothetically benefit arguably a top three project on there in terms of popularity, which I think Toshi is, despite being a meme coin. However, the second argument is this. If let's say they do launch the Base token, so to speak, and let's say there's a lot of popularity there, what's going to happen to the attention of Toshi? Is it going to kind of dilute it? I think to a certain extent, yes, because of course there's going to be more, attention probably to that as opposed to Toshi, at least probably for the short term. And I think also for the foreseeable future, just because the base network is just very revolutionary, I feel like, as a layer two. It's not revolutionary in a sense that it's really, I think, reinventing the wheel. But then just because it's Coinbase's layer two, and also on top of that, because Coinbase is on the S&P 500, it's publicly listed, that right there, I think just brings a lot more kind of energy, right? A lot more dynamic, sort of vibes, I would say. However, even if let's say with that diverted attention, because let's say there's the base token, which I think some of it will kind of, be diverted away from Toshi, right? But I still think even despite that, because of the popularity of what it could be, especially if they launch it at the right time, let's say during the start of altcoin season, or let's say slightly before that, even despite the diverted attention again, I think just because if that becomes really popular, it could kind of balance it out a little bit where Toshi still kind of has that presence. So either way, I don't think it's necessarily such a bad thing when it comes to Toshi. And I think if anything, sure, some of the attention could be drawn away when it comes to Toshi. But then at the same time, if that becomes very popular, maybe some of it could kind of benefit Toshi to a certain extent. Because imagine if, let's say, base, or should I say the base token, has like a very massive market cap, and then people start taking a look at it. They start taking a look at the projects on there. They start looking at something like Toshi. That could also be a path, right? Who knows? And also, some people may argue that again, okay, some of the tension is diverted, but if let's say the base, token becomes so massive to the point that it could kind of, even itself out in that sense. So overall, I don't think it's such a bad thing. Now, are they gonna be launching a network token exactly, and when is the exact date? I mean, again, that statement is very ambiguous, right? Base is beginning to explore a network token. So there's a lot that can still be kind of that is left up in the air, the way you take a look at it. But at the same time, I do like what Base is doing. I think for the future, this could be good because initially, not having its own native token, I was kind of surprised at that because I was like, why? But then I thought, hey, you know what? It could kind of benefit something like Aerodrome, which is a decentralized exchange on Base, also something like Brett and something like Toshi. Because again, if I can't believe in the Base token, so to speak, there's other things for me to kind of believe in that are, on the Base network. Because again, the Base network doesn't have its own native token. That was kind of the only option for me, right? But then, yes, I think that really did work to the advantage of something like Toshi, again, Aerodrome, or should I say Aero, its native token, and also Brett. But then I think, again, for the long term, right, for the future of something like the Base network, having its native token, I think, could be such a good thing for it because it kind of establishes it, I think, further within this space. Because as of right now, there's really no way to gauge, what market cap it would have and stuff like that because there is no native token. So yeah, overall, I think it's kind of like either way, it could hypothetically be pretty amazing for someone like Toshi because even though some of the attention might be diverted, some of it could maybe trickle down back to it again, especially if the base network gains more attention. Especially if, let's say, there was an altcoin season. Now, again, I'll be waiting for the token launch. Only time will tell, but still, at the same time, I'm just going to still stay patient. I'm still, by the way, dollar cost averaging into Brett, Toshi, and as well as Aero. Again, Aerodrome's native token. However, even if, let's say, Base did launch a token, I'll be dollar cost averaging into that too, which is why, again, I think some of the tension is going to be diverted. But it doesn't mean I'm going to be selling Toshi to acquire that. You know what I mean? I'm still just going to be dollar cost averaging, generally speaking, because I really like the base network. So yeah, when it comes to this, there's still a lot yet to be seen, which is why I think it's coming soon, maybe, because this could really shake up the dynamic when it comes to something like Toshi. And also a bunch of other projects too on the base network. However, I still think that Toshi is not necessarily going to become obsolete. I don't think it's going to be forgotten about because even if, let's say, base launches token, right? Toshi is still currently top 3 in terms of popularity. So it doesn't really hurt it that much, I think, in the grand scheme of things. Sure, some of the tension may be diverted, but in the long term, it's not really. Because if, let's say, the base network starts having this surge in popularity, the base token has a market cap that is in the many billions, people might take a look at it and say, okay, what projects are on there? And Toshi is pretty much top 3 in terms of popularity, right now at least. And I don't think it's really going to change anyways in the next 5 months because Aerodrome, Toshi, and Bread is already pretty established. Now, years later, that's a different case. Overall, I'm still very excited. I'm still waiting. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. I haven't given up. When is there going to be an altcoin season? I mean, that's beyond me, right? The only thing I can do is just stay patient, dollar cost average, wait. And yeah, that's pretty much about it. But still, in the meantime, I'm still looking forward to maybe what Base could do. And if I take a look at the idea 2 cents, it's around a 25x from here, and market cap at that point, considering current circulating supply, would be around 8.5 billion. Like, still, that doesn't seem that ridiculous to me, especially if, let's say, the base network does gain more attention, and it wouldn't necessarily surprise me if, let's say, there was an altcoin season, this to maybe be the case, because even if I take a look at that market cap right there, I was seeing Dogecoin, right, reach a market cap of over 80 billion, and that was years ago back in 2021. And also, if I take a look at Shiba Inu that year reaching around 40 billion, this market cap doesn't seem that outlandish to me. And, it'd be awesome if I saw an altcoin season right now, but maybe would it be the best timing for something like Base? Who knows? Because if, let's say, Base launched the token again before an altcoin season, slightly before that, or even during the start of it, that could indirectly also gain some attention, I think, to something like Toshi, right? Even though some of the attention might be diverted. So I think that in the grand scheme of things, maybe even waiting a little bit longer for an altcoin season during the cycle is not such a bad thing, especially considering how Base hasn't launched its token. So yeah, I mean, imagine if an altcoin season started 2 or 3 months ago. I would still believe in Toshi, by the way, but I'm just saying, would it be the best thing for Base? Because if, let's say, Base launched a token and then experienced an altcoin season during the cycle, it sets the groundwork for maybe what Base could be, in the next cycle and the next cycle after that. So yeah, I think maybe if anything, it could actually, at the end of the day, be pretty much a good thing, actually, for something like Base at the end of the day, even though personally for me, I've been waiting for quite a while. But, still, maybe it is actually a good thing in the grand scheme of things. This is my point of view. Now, only time will tell, right, when it comes to this, but still, I'm staying patient. Whenever an altcoin season starts, that's beyond my control. The only thing I can do is just stay patient by dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting. So if, let's say, the market does wake up, it's kind of like going along with the ride. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Just staying patient, holding, and that's pretty much about it. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. And I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you for watching. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.